Economy of Rwanda explained. Rwanda is a landlocked country in the Great Lakes region of East Africa. Its 26,338 square kilometers are dominated by highlands, giving it the name Land of a Thousand Hills. Rwanda's climate is conditioned by its landscape. The lower the altitude, the warmer the temperature. The Rwandan economy is primarily based on rain-fed agriculture, with coffee and tea as the major cash crops. Farms are small, fragmented, and semi-subsistence oriented. Rwanda's economy suffered heavily during the 1994 genocide, with widespread loss of life, failure to maintain the infrastructure, looting, and neglect of important cash crops. This caused a large drop in GDP and destroyed the country's ability to attract private and external investment. The economy has since strengthened, with per capita GDP estimated at $2,225 in 2018, compared with $416 in 1994. Before we continue exploring the economy of Rwanda, if you're new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. Agriculture. Agriculture is the main economic activity in Rwanda, with 70% of the population engaged in the sector and around 72% of the working population employed in agriculture. The period for cultivation can be divided into the first cultivable season from September to January and the second cultivable season from February to June. In the marshlands, where water is abundant, there is also a third agricultural season for the cultivation of rice and vegetables. The agricultural sector accounts for 33% of the national GDP. In general, Rwanda's GDP has been growing at a rate of 7% since 2014. Tea and coffee are the major exports, while plantains, cassava, potatoes, sweet potatoes, maize, and beans are the most productive crops. Rwanda exports dry beans, potatoes, maize, rice, cassava flour, maize flour, poultry, and live animals within Eastern Africa. Transport. The transport system in Rwanda centers primarily on the road network. Paved roads lie between the capital, Kigali, and most other major cities and towns in the country. Rwanda is also linked by road with other countries in the African Great Lakes region, via which the majority of the country's imports and exports are made. The country has an international airport at Kigali, serving one domestic and several international destinations. The airport has international flights to Lagos, Brazzaville, Dubai, Nairobi, Entebbe, Addis Ababa, Bujumbura, Johannesburg, Amsterdam, Brussels, and Doha, and it is the main airport for the national carrier Rwandair. There are currently no railways in Rwanda. A large amount of investment in the transport infrastructure has been made by the government since the 1994 genocide, with aid from the European Union, China, Japan, and others. Rwanda has a total of 12,000 kilometers of roads, of which 1,000 kilometers are paved. The remainder are dirt roads with quality varying from smooth hard surfaces with drainage to rooted extremely uneven tracks, passable only with a four-wheel drive vehicle. Tourism. Tourism in Rwanda is the largest source of foreign exchange earnings and was projected to grow at the rate of 25% every year from 2013. The sector is the biggest contributor to the national export strategy. The sector has also attracted direct foreign investment, with major international hotel brands setting up shops in the country. Sheraton Hotels and Resorts, Protea Hotels by Marriott, Golden Tulip Hotels, and Zinc are a few of these hotels. With its new world-class convention center, Rwanda is set to become a regional and international conference hub, owing to ever-improving conference facilities, an excellent and expanding transportation network, and straightforward immigration procedures such as the ability for online visa applications, visa at gate policy for all Africans, and the one tourist visa policy for the EAC. To further place Rwanda in the world map as a first-class tourism destination, the Rwanda Development Board signed a 3-year partnership deal with London-based association football team, Arsenal Football Club. In a 2-year partnership with French association football giant Paris Saint-Germain FC to help build the country's tourism industry. This has lifted overall tourism numbers by 8% according to Rwandan officials. Mining in Rwanda started in the early 30s, and since then, the mining sector has undergone wide reforms and is now Rwanda's second largest export revenue earner in the country. In 2017, the sector generated $373.4 million of foreign exchange. Rwanda's mineral resources include cassiterite, coltan, wolfram, peat used for electricity generation or processed as an alternative for firewood, gold, and nickel. In addition to this, the country has other precious stones such as amphibolite, granite, quartzite, volcanic rocks, clay, sand, and gravel. Rwanda produces between 8,000 and 9,000 tons of mineral compounds every year, and the amount of money depends on the market pricing dynamics. Gold mining and export has recently emerged to have a big potential. Rwanda is among the top producers of tantalum, producing about 9% of the world's tantalum used in electronics manufacturing. In addition to that, Rwanda is now home to 2 refineries of gold and tin, both of which have the capacity to process large amounts of minerals from within the country and the region. Rwanda has a mineral tagging and sealing scheme, internationally recognized as a member of the ITCSI program that ensures the origins of the minerals can be traced in order to avoid conflict financing, human rights abuses, or other malpractices such as bribery in mineral supply chains. Energy. Rwanda's energy balance shows that about 85% of its overall primary energy consumption is based on biomass, 11% from petroleum products, and 4% from hydro sources for electricity. In April 2011, about 14% of the total population had access to electricity from the grid, making the government to begin rollout programs to rapidly increase this to 16% in 2012 and 60% in 2020. Until 2004, Rwanda depended on a single energy source, hydropower, whose limited capacity relied on a dilapidated network with technical and commercial losses of around 30%, much of which is attributed to the lack of investment in the sector for the last 25 years. In recent years, Rwanda has suffered from acute electricity supply shortage and severe load shedding. Its installed generation capacity has been severely constrained by regional drought, leading to a rapid drawdown of the reservoirs. Drought has also affected Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, leaving Rwanda with no possibility of sourcing electricity from its neighbors. In late 2004, the government was forced to make a difficult choice: better expensive energy than none. Diesel generators were rented from private companies at the high cost, and this, in addition to high fuel costs, increased tariffs. The government is exploring mechanisms to improve modern energy services in rural areas by implementing the Second Generation Poverty Reduction Strategy program. The program focuses on promising options for rural energy supply, such as solar energy, wind energy, and extension of the grid to rural areas. With that, Rwanda plans to have a target of 100% electrification by 2024. According to the Rwanda Energy Group, 48% of Rwandan households will use off-grid solutions to meet their needs, while 52% will be connected to the grid to achieve this target. Manufacturing. The manufacturing sector in Rwanda is still small and only accounts for around 7% of total gross value added. Several policies and strategies, such as the National Industrial Policy and the National Export Strategy, have been developed to accelerate industrial and export growth. Rwanda's exports continue to be concentrated in agricultural products. Tea and coffee were the top products, and agricultural products constitute over 80% of the total exported goods. Rwanda's manufacturing sector is dominated by the production of important substitutes for internal consumption. The larger enterprises produce beer, soft drinks, cigarettes, hose, wheelbarrows, soap, mattresses, plastic pipe, roofing materials, and bottled water. Other products manufactured include agricultural products, small-scale beverages, soap, furniture, shoes, cement, plastic goods, textiles, and cigarettes. External trade. Rwanda's exports remains dominated by traditional products such as coffee, tea, and minerals like tin, coltan, wolfram, and cassiterite. Rwanda's main export partners are China, Germany, and the United States. Rwanda imports mainly food products, machinery and equipment, construction materials, petroleum products, and fertilizers. In the first quarter of 2021, Rwanda's total trade was $1,040.19 million, a decrease of 14% over the first quarter of 2020. Exports were $161.83 million, imports $769.77 million, and re-exports $108.59 million. And in the second quarter of 2021, Rwanda's total trade was $1,317.93 million, an increase of over 30% over the second quarter of 2020. And finally, the deficit in the balance of formal trade in goods was $211.17 million in January 2022, a decrease of 3.26% compared to the previous month of December 2021. Foreign investment. In the last 2 decades, the growth of foreign direct investment in Rwanda has been very impressive. Statistical records reveal, for instance, that FDI inflows increased from $382 million in 2018 to a whopping $420 million in 2019, and stocks were estimated at $2.6 billion at the end of 2019. Additionally, in a report published by Rwanda Development Board in 2019, the economy recorded $2.46 billion in investment, which was a record high, and of which 37% was in FDI. The main sectors targeted by investors are mining, construction, and real estate, infrastructure, information and communication technologies. And according to Rwanda Development Board report, the major investing countries are Portugal, the UK, India, and the UAE. The government of Rwanda has, however, made a significant effort in attracting more FDI through different measures to improve the investment climate in the country. Different supportive mechanisms have been put in place, such as a one-stop center where registration of new businesses and any information regarding investment can be accessed, exchange platforms between senior management and business leaders, amongst others. There you have it. That was the economy of Rwanda explained. Which other country's economy do you want us to talk about? Please drop it in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, like, and also share it with your friends.